other big story I'm watching for you out of Washington, just outside of Washington, actually. President Trump has told US top military officers that US cities could serve as training grounds for their troops. The president was speaking to hundreds of generals and admirals who'd been summoned to a base in Virginia. The president reiterated plans to send National Guard to Chicago. It followed an emphatic speech by the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
Well, fruity language, not the sort of language that one often hears amongst the heather, as they say. Major General Mark MacCarley is with me. The generals sat there in silence. First of all, most of them possibly were half asleep because they were jet-lagged from coming from other parts of the world. What was this all about?
Well, the best thing I can say, Richard, and on its face, you could consider it an opportunity to inspire and an opportunity on the part of the Secretary of War to motivate. I will say that during all my career as a general officer, I never had an opportunity to come that close to the President of the United States. So for those who have traveled at great cost to our nation, they did have the one instance perhaps in their entire careers, not maybe the four-star admirals and generals, but certainly those of us who, as generals, were at a lower position, they can meet the senior leadership of the Department of War and of the United States of America.
When he says, the Defense Secretary, when he says the diversity is a weakness, we could arguably say one way or t'other it's gone too far, one thing or another. But is the general view amongst the upper echelons, is that a prevalent view, that diversity amongst the ranks all the way up is a weakness? Not so much, never mind how it might have been gone wrong in recent years, the core concept of diversity.
You know, when I was in the service, which perhaps about 8 years ago, if I calculate correctly, we didn't really use the term diversity or DEI. And perhaps that's what has caused the challenges that we're facing now. For those of us in leadership positions, the key was we wanted the administration at that time and at any earlier time or later time to appoint the very best and most capable war fighters. And let's just get down to brass tacks, gunfighters, who can fight and prevail in the contested world environment in which we see ourselves today. And the decision and the discriminator in the appointment to these senior positions should have nothing to do with somebody's race, gender, ethnicity. It's all about whether you can get the bloody job done and do it effectively to take care of your country. That's the key. Eliminate the term diversity.
So when you hear, I mean, there will have been people who in that room who agree and those who don't agree with the overall tenor of what the Secretary of the President was saying. But when they say, he said, in good conscience, be honourable, leave the room and quit. Will that have put a chill of fear into these men and women?
And a quick answer to an appropriate question is yes, heck yes. On the other hand, I just wanted to add, this is not the first administration which has taken aggressive stance toward its senior military leaders. Now, I don't like to dwell in history, but just to touch upon one president who is uniquely admired, that's Abraham Lincoln. During his tenure as commander-in-chief of our armed forces during the Civil War, he fired for both political reasons and operational reasons, basically incompetence. He fired 7 different senior officers who were at that time leading the Army of the Republic. They fired again, both because they didn't know what they were doing, they lost battles, they didn't have enthusiasm, the warfighting enthusiasm, or with a gentleman by the name of John Kay, they fired him because of his political views. So this isn't the first time.
I'm grateful to you, General. We'll talk more about this, particularly as it proceeds. I need to hear your forthright, robust views, I think is a good way to put them. Thank you, sir. Good to have you on the programme. Grace Means Business.